welcome everyone to Yellowdig, Learn Together. Today you will be listening to Brian, Deborah, and Janine. So I'll give a little bit of an introduction of myself, and then we'll go to Brian, and then we're so happy to have Janine with us, a Yellowdig user from Regis University. So hi, I'm Deborah Oberding. I am the Community Success Consultant at Yellowdig. Previously, I was an instructor in the School of Education for many years. From that role, I moved to instructional designer position and then educational technologist. So when I moved to Yellowdig as a community success consultant, really, I always tried to do in all of those roles I had what Yellowdig offers. So needless to say, I'm really excited to be part of the Yellowdig team. And in the future, hopefully working with you to have some fun in your online, face-to-face, or hybrid learning. Brian, you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. While we're introducing ourselves, if you would, in the chat, let us know what brought you here today, what your interests are in Yellowdig, and what you hope to get out of this. So I'm Brian Crockey. I'm the Partnership Specialist for Yellowdig. And I worked for a larger publishing company for 16 years. And a friend called me and told me about Yellowdig, and I immediately fell in love with the product. I've seen a lot of new and innovative products over the years, but nothing that can even hold a candle to Yellowdig. It truly is a student engagement platform. And in my opinion, we're changing lives. So excited to be here, excited to chat with Janine and learn exactly what brought her to Yellowdig. And Janine, please take some time and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Janine Galligan, and I am a lecturer at the Regis University. And I teach communication classes, including intercultural communication, public speaking, communicating through social media. I've been working with Yellowdig for the past year, over a year, and I've used it in 8 different classes. Our students are primarily adult learners, so they're online, although we are using it in some face-to-face classes. So what's nice is that although I'm here speaking to you individually, I really represent a team of other instructors who have been using Yellowdig over the past year and have loved it. I tell the story that on Monday mornings, I would typically just drag out of bed because I had to grade the discussions. And with Yellowdig, my mentality has shifted so that I'm now excited to work with the students in our discussions. And I look forward to talking more to you about Yellowdig later on. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm representing a group of us who use Yellowdig, and it's primarily for online students, for post-traditional students who are managing a lot. And so having tools like online classes in Yellowdig, to Brian's point, are changing lives.
All right, well, thank you. Can you give us a little more insight as to what are the biggest impacts that Yellowdig has had on you and your students?
That one's to me, correct?
Yeah.
So the biggest impact on me and our students, and I'm glad that you asked for the instructor perspective and the student perspective, because it really is, I go back to the whole, when you're on an airplane and in case of emergency, you put oxygen on your mask first, and so you could help other people. If the instructors are engaged, if the instructors are excited, that's going to filter down to the students. So the biggest change for me, and these are not my words, this is a partner who uses Yellowdig as well. She said that it helps make her time more efficient. So she can focus more on engaging with students,
Mhm.
So that's the biggest, that filter down. The students are, one, they're just excited and jazzed because they feel that it's a more natural way of engaging with one another. And again, you'll get to see some of the features of Yellowdig, but there's just little tools that help us show one another, hey, I'm here and I'm listening. I don't have to respond with a formal, thank you for the great post. I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah, Janine, thank you. So I think you hit on a couple of things. Of course, student engagement, which Yellowdig is all about, and it's that organic conversation that I guess encourages that engagement, and it makes it fun, really, for the students and the instructor. I like the saying that, students came for the points, and that is a big motivator, but they stay for the community. So I know one instructor said that, and I think that kind of hits home. So with that, and thank you both Brian and Janine, we're going to go ahead and get started. We are going to show you a lot of the best practices within the demo as we go through the slides. First of all, demo, and then we will have time to talk to Janine a little bit more and then answer any questions or clarification that you may have. So again, please use the chat. And we have been seeing the variety of people that are here, and thank you for coming. A lot of different professors, instructional designers. So we're ready to get going, and hopefully you'll learn a little more about Yellowdig. So first of all, we're going to look at Yellowdig being a piece of the learning experience. At an institution, it can go way beyond individual courses. It's really a connected learning experience that can occur when the institution enables learners to form a community at every point in their journey. So if you look at this diagram here, this chart, it starts before learners even sign up for the first course, and it drives that sense of connection between the newly enrolled learners who are all experiencing similar anxieties, questions, they want to meet their peers, all the way through post-graduation, which enables a deep network of alumni who feel truly connected. This may look familiar. There are many pain points learners and faculty are facing today in the educational environment. Learners now, more than ever now, are kind of reevaluating if their degree path will meet their future needs. And once enrolled, they're faced with increased anxiety around peer-to-peer connection, with 71% reported lack of connection with others as a top challenge, of course, in 2021. This is from Inside Higher Ed, especially in online and hybrid environments. And 60% of instructors, the number one issue is student engagement, which by our poll that we took at the beginning of this webinar, it sounds like that is your goal in this webinar as well, is to find out more about Yellowdig and student engagement. So many faculty are finding it harder to reach their students and facilitate that real engagement, not post once, reply twice, check it off, you've done your assignment. That's not what we're looking at or thinking about in Yellowdig. So as we talked about it being a complete learner's experience, it is really compelling. Compelling meaning gone are the days of the sage on the stage, right? Students crave content that means something to them in real life. They can connect to. There's relevance in the material, and it will stick with them as they leave the class. Connected. The learning is not an isolated task. Thoughtfully bringing today's learners is critical for student satisfaction and success. Therefore, that retention, right? If they're feeling isolated, more than likely they may not stay because they are feeling like they're alone. Well, we find with the community that Yellowdig can create, they're not isolated. And Yellowdig is data informed. There are years of great pedagogical research out there that is used to create learning experiences in Yellowdig, and we will talk about those best practices and tools in Yellowdig when we get into the platform. Synchronous sessions are limited to a couple hours each week. Students are brought together. Much of the students' learning occurs in the space outside of the classroom. So Yellowdig enables that conversation to really start in the class and thrive throughout the rest of the week. So even if you have class on Tuesday and Thursday, that conversation can continue to go because they can pull examples from current events, their lives that connect to class content, making the material more relevant to them. And this really adds valuable content to the class. The conversation doesn't have to stop when the class moves on from topic to topic. They can connect those topics from week 1 into week 5 by using the topic tags, which we'll look at a little bit closer when we get into the platform. And learners can support each other in Yellowdig throughout the whole week. Students no longer need to rely on sending that panicked email to the instructor or a few classmates that live in the same dorm, but instead they can tap into their network from the class in Yellowdig to ask and answer questions. And a lot of times students go beyond the simple Q&A and they will encourage them, they'll share study advice. I mean, they really do form that connection as one human to the next. It also removes barriers to engagement. A lot of times synchronous sessions are limited just a couple hours a week. So again, we like to continue that conversation beyond. Okay, this is my favorite slide. And I can see Janine nodding a bit too, because I think as a first time, if it is your first time implementing or using this platform, this slide really spoke to me and continues to. So on the left, you can see how a typical discussion forum works. 1 post, 2 comments. You see the instructor starts every conversation at the first. There are a few go-getters, which are the green, I believe, here coming in early, as we all have those go-getters. But the conversation, there's really no conversation that's happening for that go-getter. It abruptly ends as the next week and the next question starts. And you see the go-getter finally realizing that there's no value in posting early because there's no one else to converse with, to actually have a conversation. That go-getter can check it off the box like, okay, I answered that discussion question. And basically, I'm talking to the instructor saying what they want me to say as far as the answer, because it's an assignment. Now, look on the right. On the right, you will see what happens in a Yellowdig community. Sure, the instructor will still kick off the community, but students take the reign and initiate conversations. There's multiple conversations going on at once. Connections can be made between topics across the weeks. You see the dotted lines that show they're bringing up a topic from week 2 and they're connecting it to week 5. They have that scaffolding of information. They're constructing knowledge. It's a learner's and instructor's dream in a way because of what they see their students doing and how they're progressing in the learning process. There's less procrastination all around because there are no longer harsh deadlines. Yellowdig is one continual assignment through the entire course. Students are rewarded by our gainful learning point system for coming into the community early and posting quality content. Okay, we're going to take a little break here. We're going to transition to our platform. So now is a great time to bring up any questions or comments in the chat or the Q&A area. And Brian or Janine, if you would like to add anything as we transition to the platform, please feel free to.
You know, I'd like to hear Janine was nodding her head on the slide that you were showing, the difference between the typical discussion board and Yellowdig. And Janine, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, it's interesting because we really have trained our students to think of discussions like they are assignments. And to illustrate that point, I refer to my niece. She's a master's student in nursing. And I asked her if she had any work to do. We were meeting, and she said, "Oh, I just have to post something by midnight tonight." It was Wednesday. "And then I'll have to reply back on Saturday." So it's not, we have trained them so well to meet their deadlines and to do what we're asking them to do. But I don't know why we have been referring to those things as discussions when they're really assignments. That's really an assignment. So
Right.
one of the things, this kind of shift in timing is the one thing I see with my students, in that when they first come in, they're still meeting that Wednesday night deadline, even in Yellowdig. And I keep reminding them, you don't have to do this anymore. You can do what works for you, that you have so much more freedom to make it work into your own schedule, that you don't have to just check in at those 2 points. And a lot of the students, they check it as they do their other feeds, their other social media feeds. They're checking to see if they got a reaction or a response from other people. And they enjoy that camaraderie, or that community, as Yellowdig refers to it. So it's very interesting, because when we first started using discussions, we didn't have the same technology that is available to us today. And as a result, we got into these different ways of doing things that aren't really what a discussion looks like in the classroom, or in or a board, like a Slack board or anything like that. So this is a very interesting slide. So thank you for asking that, Brian.
Yes, thank you. I do want to point out, thank you, Janine. I do want to point out this slide as well. And it is the complete community of inquiry. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay. And so what we're looking at here is, we are looking at 3 things. And, as an educator, and as many educators are on this webinar as well, we know that there are 3 things in the community of inquiry for a quality learning experience. And when you look at the cognitive presence, those activities that are planned to meet that learning objective, right? That what the students are doing. And like Janine said, discussion board, they're discussing, but really what they're doing, they're checking the box off, answering that assignment or that question. So when you think of having a discussion, for some way, somehow through the years, we have placed an assignment in the discussion board, right? So it's more of an assignment board, I think we would say, than a discussion board. Our teaching presence is just that. What do we do as teachers to facilitate that learning? But what's missing a lot of time is the social aspect of learning. And that social aspect is what we in Yellowdig believe we can bring to a platform that we have, to show that learning between each other, with each other, bringing in extra content, it's social. And that's where Yellowdig is different, the social presence, because students get rewarded for making a post that others are going to comment on and others are going to react on. So that's telling them, get in early, post quality content, and they will get points. So, and Brian's going to talk all about that now when we go to the platform. So Brian, you want to take over?
Absolutely.
Okay, you want to bring up your platform?
I do. I need you to stop sharing yours.
Okay, you sure do. Thanks, Brian. I'm like, oh, okay. There we go. There we go.
Thank you.
Like, okay, we're ready.
Oh, isn't technology wonderful? All right, so here we are. This is the Yellowdig platform. I know a lot of you have expressed excitement in seeing it. So as you'll notice, it is a lot like social media. It looks and acts a lot like a lot of familiar social media that we're familiar with. but indeed, it is not social media. What it does is it allows instructors and students to bring in content that are relevant to their lives and to the course. So as you notice here, we have topic tags, and these would be your higher level syllabus items that you wanted to really focus on. That one was an introduction. This one's thinking, language, and intelligence. And just so you know, this is a psychology course that we're looking at. This is a Canvas demo site that we're looking at. So it's just a matter of bringing the course content in. The instructors will choose those topic tags, and that kind of keeps the guardrails on the conversations and keeps the conversation into the course itself. But this gives you an idea of how robust the Yellowdig platform is. The students can do polls, they can bring in videos, they can bring in images. In fact, we'll just go in and create a post here. So once you get into it, again, it's just like any other type of social media. When you're posting something, it gives you the ability to bring in different images, different links. And as I mentioned before, here's the topics. So again, these are the topics that the instructors would set up, that you would set up with your syllabus topics that you want the students to talk about. And the only way that you can post is by choosing one of the topics. And you can choose more than one as well. So maybe emotional intelligence has something to do with that as well. It gives that framework. And it not only frames it, but it also takes the students into a position where they have to take a step back and think, okay, I found this great article. I want to bring it into the course. I want to share this with my peers, but what bucket does it fit into? So it really kind of engages the students in that critical thinking aspect of the course as well. So you can go in and you can do sample posts. You can go in here and you can type, I found this article and wanted to share it. Anyhow, but you can attach a file, a video, an image, maybe an audio session. You can record a video and audio. You can attach emojis to it, so you can give it a thumbs up or whatnot. And, you know, this is interesting. I've had a lot of instructors say, no, wait a minute, I don't know about the emojis, and I don't know about, you know, is that really appropriate for what's going on in the course and whatnot? And the emojis are actually a part of the point setting as well. Interestingly enough, we had a third-party university that did a study on this and found that the students that added emojis were actually getting more out of the course because they were diving deeper into the content. They were reading more and digesting more. So emojis actually play a deep part in this. You can actually draw in this as well. You could add an image. Say, for instance, there was, I'll just use STEM as an example. In biology, there's a muscle group that you wanted to point out. You could post the image and then draw an arrow to that specific muscle group. Once again, you can have polls. We also have LaTeX formula for those STEM instructors that are getting into it. But again, just showing the robust abilities of Yellowdig to bring in content in however students want to, be it straight text through a link to a website or an image that they found, a video on YouTube or whatnot. I wanted to point this out up here. So what this does is it allows students to post anonymously. And I know, again, it's going to be like, wait, Brian, no, I don't want students posting anonymously. The instructor still knows who it is. And the value of this tool is we understand that there are students out there that maybe are socially challenged. Maybe they're a first-generation student. Maybe they're just not comfortable in this setting. They've never done it before. We don't expect everyone to post. but we expect everyone to be a part of the community so they can post anonymously. And what that does is it allows the students to be a part of the community and yet still have that comfort zone of nobody really judging them. And then as time goes on and they get more and more comfortable with posting and whatnot, then maybe they can post as themselves. But like I said before, we don't expect everyone to post. So commenting is the other aspect of the conversation. It still allows the students to be a part of that conversation and still be a part of that community as well. I'm going to stop and see if there's any questions before I go any further.
Yes, we're actually having a pretty good time here in the chat. So thank you for those that are keeping the chat going, and I'm responding as quickly as I can. But a couple other things we're asking in the chat about integration within Canvas. Yes, it is. Yellowdig is an external tool that is integrated with your LMS, whether that D2L, Moodle, Canvas, Blackboard, pretty much all of them. There's not one that we haven't integrated with. So please be aware of that. Let's see. Yes, I think we have all of the information covered in the chat so far, Brian. So thanks.
Excellent, excellent. So I wanted to get into the point system, just kind of explaining how the point system works and how it's different from any other discussion board, or basically how it works. So you'll notice that the first two ways of earning points are really no different than a typical discussion board. Creating a post with a minimum of 40 words gives you 280 points in this case. Commenting, on the other hand, is 20 words minimum with 210. You'll notice that commenting has more value. And again, it goes back to encouraging the students to get in early, getting in and commenting, but basically being a part of that community and not really feeling intimidated about posting. But here's where the magic really comes in. This is the other part of Yellowdig. It's receiving a comment from another user and receiving an action from another user. So in this case, let's say that Deborah posted something and I commented. Okay, so Deborah gets points for posting and she gets points also for receiving a comment. She can also get points for a reaction from another user. So if I go in and I kind of view the emojis and the thumbs up and things like that, just as you would in LinkedIn. So if you're reading an article that someone has posted, but you don't really have time to comment, you're in a hurry, you're moving to the next one, you give it that thumbs up, you give it that approval. Now, if I give someone a thumbs up, I'm not going to get any points for it, but Deborah would, because that's her post, or even a comment. They're still going to get those points. The next thing I'd like to point out are these little badges down here at the bottom that we call accolades. And these are for the instructors to use. So I want to use a face-to-face scenario as an example in this. So if I'm teaching, say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, I want to try to get in as much academic concourse and course material into our face-to-face section, which really doesn't leave a lot of opportunity for discussion. So what I might do is I might say, okay, class, this afternoon, I'm going to post a question to you all, and I want you to discuss it. I'm going to still be there. I'll still be a part of the community, but I want you to have a conversation about this topic or question. Now, I'm not going to answer it for a couple of days. I'll still be there. But after a couple of days, let's say Wednesday, I'll come back in and I will add an emoji that gives you an idea of what the accurate answer is. So I don't want them to feel like they're going down a rabbit hole or getting off on the wrong road. I will go in and add the verified response. So what this does is it allows the students to have that agency to bring in their own content, to bring their real world experiences and have those organic conversations without me, the instructor, being there. And then, like Deborah mentioned before, in a face-to-face setting, if you split people in groups, immediately what happens when you walk up is the students stop talking. They're looking to you for the answer. They're looking to you for guidance. So this way it allows the students to continue those conversations, but it still lets them know that, hey, I'm here and I'm giving you that value of this is a value verified response. Then also within the day, going in and giving accolades on, hey, that was really helpful, community building. There are different types of accolades that you can give, and you can actually create your own as well. So this helps the students build points, and it gives the students that knowledge that they're on the right track. It gives them the extra points, but other students look at it and go, hey, I want an accolade too. Not only can I get more points, but it gets my post higher towards the top of the posting. And that's something that I neglected to mention is the algorithm that Yellowdig uses pushes the most popular topics to the top, the most posts and comments that are being viewed goes to the top. So that gives the students the ability to go in and say, I wonder what's going on today. So they might go in the morning and see a post on, I don't know, behavior change. And in the afternoon, it might have changed. So it's kind of like that social media where they go in and say, I wonder what's happening right now. Did anyone comment on mine? So it gives them that encouragement to go back more and keeps going back into it as well. I wanted to dive in a little bit into the filtering system. Very robust. The students can go in and search by topic, member, date. There's several different ways of filtering. So it doesn't feel like a black hole. I know there's some other platforms where you go in and you're trying to find that post, something that was relevant to the class 2 weeks ago, and you're trying to find it. This really gives you the ability to go in and find that post a lot quicker. Deborah, any more questions before I move on to the data?
Yeah, I'll just kind of interject here. I like to look at the points as motivation for the students as well, right? We're always looking at how to motivate students. Topics that you talked about, all about course relevance, right? You're going to pick those topics, look at your learning objective for the course or the learning outcome for the week or weeks, and skinny it down to the topics that you're going to use. Those topics can be created at the beginning of your course. Of course, you can add them when needed. Yes, and we might show the different features in the topics, how to, rearrange them. You could make topics that are no longer worth points for the simple fact, like introduction, they no longer get points for introducing themselves. And then I think the last thing that Brian was talking about with the accolades, that's the instructor presence in the community, right? Guide on the side without the sage on the stage type thing, where, for instance, if you put a verified response on a conversation that is being had, and then they can use that as a type of study guide by filtering it. That's, like he said, one way to keep the conversation going and not stopping and looking at the instructor to carry it on. So accolades and topics are key ingredients to successful learning and yellow digging, I should say.
Excellent, thank you. Janine, do you have any comments on accolades? How do you use those?
I use accolades by showing students that, hey, this was a great post. Thank you for sharing that. I do have that medal of bravery because a student will sometimes post something that they're not really sure about, but they're trying to work it through. And so I give that medal of bravery. Basically, I use it whenever I see a post that is a little bit, that one could be helpful for the rest of the community, and two, that is just a little bit more above the rest of the community. I do see some comments going on in the in the chat about, and I think that this is something that my group, my team always worried about, is do people use Yellowdig like social media? I think that not only were instructors concerned about that, so were some of the students. And in my experiences in the 8 classes, and again, this is the context of a Jesuit university, I haven't seen that. I had one student who wasn't posting very robustly or connecting to the content that well, that may match what some people perceive as trying to get a rile out of other people. However, my guess is he might have done that in the LMS discussion board. Most of the students are, and what they report to me is that they have to really be careful, not careful as in, oh my gosh, I don't want to offend anybody, but thoughtful in taking time to come up with what they're going to post. So they compare it to them responding to a question, which is simple. I can just respond to this question, pull in the information I need, versus, well, what does relate to this topic that we're choosing? What are some of my experiences? What is the content? How can I connect this? And the students said that they actually spent more time. So even though the posting numbers, maybe you only need 40 words to get full credit for a post, they're taking more time to prepare it because they're coming up with it themselves. And again, I don't work for Yellowdig, so you're more than welcome to ask me any questions that may have come up about this, but I think that was one thing that all of the instructors I work with were concerned about, and we haven't seen that. Students use Yellowdig academically.
Thanks, Janine. Yes, and there is some course management tools you can use as well, as far as deleting posts, blocking words, those types of things. And, you know, they're going to realize pretty quickly the type of learning community that it is, and that's not a place for it. So I appreciate you explaining that and talking more about that, because like we said, Janine has used Yellowdig, and their university has also come up with, you know, a lot of thoughtfulness when it comes to using this learning platform. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Janine. I want to jump into the data. Now, this is something that you as an instructor have at your fingertips at all time. It allows you to get in and take a look at where the community is and what's going on. And we talked about the topics, and this can be used for teaching agency, getting an idea of where the students are, what they're interested in. In this case, it looks like the first top 2 are very popular: motivation and emotion. Everyone seems to be jumping in on that. But as we come down here, agency and self-determination isn't that popular. So as an instructor, I can take a step back and go, okay, is there something that I can bring to the community that might have more relevance to the students that are taking the course? It really gives you that insight into what's going on. And you can also do it you can do it in a, what's the word I'm looking for? In a graph as well. It gives you an idea. You can take a look at it by member and see how your students are doing. So if they want to see what's going on with their grades, you can dive in and take a look at it. Another thing that we're able to do is take a health check. And this gives you an idea of where the community is in regards to the rest of the Yellowdig communities in your university or your institution, as well as globally. And I just wanted to point out, these are the best practices. And we recommend that you use these best practices for at least the first 2 semesters. Just follow our guidelines and it will lead to success. Getting into the health check here, this gives you an idea of the 3 different topics here: the sharing, listening, and interacting score. Now, once again, this is a demo site. We're not doing that great, but this gives you an idea of how it's looking. The sharing score is typically, as with a discussion board, it's sharing content. The listening score is reading the content, absorbing the content, and then the next one is the interacting score. And these give you an idea of how we're doing globally and compared to the rest of the Yellowdig communities in general. Now, this is the summary. And we like to look at this so it gives you an idea of posts, comments, reactions, and it gives you the conversation ratio. So this is the ratio of comments per post. Ideally, like I said before, we're not doing so great. We like to see this number around 5, somewhere between 5 and 8. That gives you an idea that, okay, we're doing great. Conversations are really flowing. And it gives you the ability to take a look at it, get into the data, look at how your topics are doing, look at what your course is doing, and take a look at it. The next thing I want to show is the network graph. And this really resonated with me as I'm a visual. It gives you the ability to go in and take a look at the students and kind of pull this apart, see who they're connecting with. Like right here, Arno Flatley is doing very well, is connecting with different people on different levels. But then all of a sudden we get an outlier here. And I have an instructor that pointed this out to me. And what they did is they chose one of these students and reached out to the student, said, hey, I noticed, you're not paying a lot of time in Yellowdig. Just wanted to see what's going on, see if I could help you, see what's happening in your life. Well, come to find out, it was a single parent, had 2, if not 3 jobs. This was during COVID. They were helping take care of a family member at home. So all of these real humanistic values and concerns that are going on with the student were really impacting them. And after the conversation, the student actually told the instructor, I was going to drop the course because I just didn't feel like I was a part of the community. And you're actually the first instructor that has ever reached out to me. Because of that, I'm going to stay with the class. So this gives you the ability to really take a look at the students, see who they're connecting with, how they're doing. It gives you an idea of where they are and kind of gives you a pulse on how they're doing, as well as the community itself. And that's the gist of what I wanted to show today. Deborah, did I miss anything you wanted to point out?
No, I don't think so. You see the ease of use with Yellowdig. I mean, students connect to it like social media, although it is not, as we talked about. But the learning curve is pretty slim, and Janine can jump in if she would like to talk about that a little more. But it seems like actually setting up the community for the instructor, and then actually using community as the student aspect, the learning curve is not that steep. Janine, would you like to add anything else as we move away from talking about the platform?
Yeah, 2 points. One, a lot of the instructors that I work with are always reluctant to adapt to new technology. And the reason is because they're pulled in so many different directions and they don't feel that they have the time to learn something new. And that learning curve is so small. So for the instructors, it is a really quick learning curve, but also it is an enormous time saver when it comes to the grading piece of discussions. And then for students, we've only had one case where a student had a problem logging in. And I think that was just because we had switched the way we were using Yellowdig, and she was one of the early students who used it. And I have not had any students reach out to me to say, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to do. And we do post instructions and some information in there, but we use other LTI, other technologies, and consistently there's 1 or 2 people that are having a problem with that. And that is not the case with Yellowdig. That's been the most surprising and welcome experience that we've had.
Good. Janine, how has Yellowdig influenced the way that you approach discussions?
Yeah, now that is something interesting. Now, in the past, we typically set up our discussions linking to the weekly outcomes. And it was a design. It was way of doing design. The paradigm shift of the instructors coming up with these questions and the students responding, the big shift is that now students are coming up with their own posts, their own ideas that relate to the coursework. And I actually adopted that paradigm shift for just a small guided independent study I was doing. Instead of me leading them, I said, well, just tell me what from the reading and the videos, what it is you connected with. What do you see applied in your real life? We had the most robust, engaging, interesting conversations. And a lot of it is because we do have these adult learners who are coming to us with so much experience of their own, and them sharing it with one another is a gift. But also, if you're thinking about traditional students who are in maybe in the 20s, in their 20s or 19, everyone has their own individual experiences and their own different perceptions. And we're able to see that brought in through I call it a paradigm shift in Yellowdig. So the technology makes it easier for us to shift this paradigm, but it's two different things, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. And you did talk about a student's post that I'm going to share with everyone now, and you can kind of expand on this a little bit as well, if you would.
Yeah, this kind of adds on. So maybe in the past, so this class is public speaking, and we're talking about ethos, pathos, and logos. A lot of you probably have heard of that already. I didn't ask the students to come up with an example of pathos and post it. This student came up on their own, posted an example and a description of what pathos is with the image. Now, again, I know that our LMSs can include images, but this is it's just easier. It's that word that you used earlier, Deborah, about being seamless. I can't emphasize that enough, that the learning curve is very small, that the implementation of it is seamless, and students are doing things like this quite easily.
Yeah. And then let's look at this one as well. So this is an example, of them using the poll feature, it looks like.
Yes. So, and again, I didn't say, all right, student, come and talk to me about identity development. That was just one of the theories we talked about that week in the readings and the videos. And they came up with this poll all on their own. So they posted the description, they created the poll, and that created some engagement with the rest of the class.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. Okay, let's take a look at our chat. Let's see, Brian or Janine, is there anything? We're almost down to the last 10 minutes. So now's a good time to look at our chat. If there's anything else, Brian or Janine, you'd like to add, please feel free to.
I'd actually like to take this last one because I think yes, a lot of professors are struggling to use the LMS. That is the experience we are having in our school university-wide. I'm one of those people that have always kept up on technology. I've taught both in the classroom and online. However, kind of what one of the feedback we get from students, one of the negative feedback we get, and I'm sure it's not just our school, is that they're posting and the instructors are not responding. And I think that the way Yellowdig is set up, it doesn't just help students, it helps to keep professors on top of managing their classes, just because it also tracks our points. So I can go there, and if I have 0 points, that means that I did not participate at all. So I feel like it's one of those, I feel like the technology is nudging our students and nudging professors to engage with one another. Whereas in the past, I would be the one that would say, hey, yes, you posted on time, but there's not really enough information. And it was not that I was the bad person, but whereas now Yellowdig takes that responsibility from me. So, but that is, if there's one takeaway from me, it's that I have worked with a number of different instructors, a lot of them not tech savvy or not ready to embrace technology, who use it, and it is the easiest one of all the technologies we have used.
And I mean, we could go so far as to say it's kind of fun, don't you think?
I definitely think it's fun. And I think that it is, yes. So to go back to my beginning story of waking up on Monday morning, dreading grading the discussions, that's gone. And because that's gone, I'm able, it has kept me motivated. So I had 5 classes this summer, which was a lot to manage, but I had Yellowdig in every single one of them. And honestly, I don't know how I would have done it if I didn't have Yellowdig.
Right. Great to hear. I know we have some instructors that talk about, first thing in the morning with their coffee, they check into Yellowdig, kind of get, a sense of where everything is. And, the students feel the same way. I mean, we are finding that they come back to Yellowdig, not as often as Instagram or social media, but they do. And it's easy for them to navigate and feel comfortable in. So, all right. Let's see. I'm looking at some more of the chat here. Okay, pricing. Yeah, so please reach out to us. We can give you all the details. We have so many different plans and pricing. Brian Kay, you know much more about that than I do. But please just, we're going to put up our information here at the end. Feel free to reach out to us at Yellowdig with any questions. If you kind of like some things you see in this webinar or liked it a lot, or you still have questions, we could do an individual demo for a group of faculty or anyone at your university that was not able to join, or you would like to have it, more one-on-one. Please let us know. That is what we're here to do. So yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, I would just real quick on the pricing. We understand that every school has different budgetary constraints and budgetary needs. We have several different pricing models. It's not always an institutional license across the entire school. It can be all the way down to the instructor level. So it can be individual choice. So again, as Deborah said, reach out to me. We can have a conversation about it. We do our best to make it affordable for everyone.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Wonderful. So I think with that, if we do not have any questions anymore, we just want to thank you for coming, and Janine, especially to you. We really appreciate you giving the time to join us today, and your insight and experience is invaluable, truly. So we really do appreciate that. And by the way, Janine is a Yellowdig Award winner. I just want to say that. So yeah, her community is one that's really engaging for her, I believe, and her students. And I do think that she and the students are having fun. So it's kind of what it's all about.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, with that, we will end. And again, thank you all for coming, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.